Okay, we're in 7th grade English. Good morning, guys. How was y'all's weekend? Did y'all have a good one? Good. Okay, do y'all remember last week when we were going over different elements that make up a story, and specifically we were talking about plot? Can y'all remember any of the key terms that make up plot for a story?
Climax.
Yes, climax. Okay. I'm going to write these down so you remember them for an activity later. Does anyone remember anything else related to the climax of the story?
What about like problem solution?
Yeah, so there's two different words that we can use. We can use the rising action and the falling action. Would the rising action go before the climax or after the climax?
Before.
Okay. And then where would the falling action go?
After.
And then there's two other terms that we learned. One goes up here and one goes down here. Can anyone think of what that would be?
Introduction, conclusion.
Yeah, so the conclusion could also be called the resolution of the story. And then before the rising action, we would maybe have some exposition, and that would set up our story. Okay, so let's refresh ourselves on what these mean. What would the exposition of a story be?
The setup.
I just revealed that, so you're listening. What would the rising action be?
Events leading to the climax.
Yeah. So maybe you would introduce a problem that the characters have, the downfall of the characters, something like that. What would the climax of the story be?
Kind of like the changing point, like where all the action like builds to.
Yes. It's important to note that sometimes you can learn plot where it's one-dimensional in a way, but sometimes you read stories and they can have more than one climax. So it's important that we don't just think about it as a one-dimensional thing, that we have stories that have different setups. And it's also about our reader response to the story. Sometimes what I would see as the climax could be different from what Kathy sees as a climax for a character. What would the falling action be? That would be, let me help you out. It would be kind of like the resolution, how things were, there were any like small problems that they had to figure out. Like if two characters, a hero and heroine, got together in the climax, then the falling action would maybe be them trying to figure out how to be together. So any kind of resolving matters. And then the resolution is just kind of the ending, how the story ends up. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're gonna get fortune cookies today, and we're gonna work in partners. And y'all are gonna read your fortunes, and based on your fortunes, y'all are gonna come up with plot ideas for a story. Plot ideas are gonna be they would just mainly have this, and you're not gonna worry too much about like writing an entire story. So you can think about a problem that you would want your characters to have. You can think about how you would want it to be resolved. You can think about different elements of that. And then we're gonna talk about the plot ideas that you all develop after you all sit down together and write them. Would you all like an example before we get fortune cookies? Are you all okay?
Give me an example.
Okay, so the fortune I got the other day was you'll be called upon to help a friend in trouble. And so the plot idea I came up with was there's a teenager who works at Taco Bell, and she receives a page from her best friend saying that she needs help. And the teenager who works at Taco Bell, the manager's like, oh, you can't go, you have to work. And so you would have to, the author would figure out how to resolve that. So that's just kind of like a basic plot idea that we want to think about. So I want y'all to work in twos, and I know that there'll be one group of three.
So do we pick a fortune, like if we're in a group, do we have to incorporate all three of the fortunes or just pick
You
one?
can, but y'all can just pick the one you like in there. Yeah.
You'll soon be honored as someone you respect. Yeah.
You have a charming way with words, and then email different.
What is it?
You have a charming way with words, and then email different. That's not functioning.
Sounds like you're seeing and then you get it's freely given. Except.
My favorite thing to me. Of course, you could probably.
I don't know. Incorporate all. I feel like it might be easier to use mine.
Mine's not good.
I'm an A student. Stick with program.
Darn.
Okay.
Not ability.
Maybe. You'll be honored. You'll soon be honored by someone with respect.
What fortunes did you want?
And usually we get free even better, and you're admired for your victories.
Which one are y'all gonna be?
We're gonna try to design it. Come up with something.
Okay, so maybe.
I was thinking some of the teacher could like plan is to go to war to and then on it by giving you some
Oh, that's good. So maybe there's like a student who is doing really well in class, and the teacher is willing to, I feel like, give them an award at an upcoming, like, y'all have awards maybe?
Like,
Yes, yeah, or something. So
At an awards venue, but what's the problem?
The problem
You get anonymous
is
gifts
that
because it's all the
her parents don't like
And it's like something,
about,
it's like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're so she goes home and tells them and they're like, so like
They're not gonna
we're
come.
not we're not coming, and she's really upset about it.
Oh, that's good.
And she has to talk to her teacher, and she goes to the teacher that's honoring her, and she's like really upset, and then maybe the teacher like sends a note to the parents, and the parents.
What do I get one's going crazy?
I love portraits of you. And then the parents like end up coming, and it's a surprise.
Oh,
She's
that's
really
good.
excited.
And that's the
And
climax.
that's where
Is it the parents show up?
Yeah, and then they resolve all their problems.
Yeah, and then they talk it out.
really good at that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
That would be really nice.
Where do you go on
I like
adventures
happy
here?
ending.
Since y'all finished early, do you want to try to think of another one? Since y'all have some words. Because we like
Okay, well, for this one, so what's gonna happen? What's the story? Figures out what's from. Don't worry, we're gonna
Are
have
you
it.
oh, that one?
Yeah.
This one.
That could be like you got me.
Yeah, you got exactly. You got
How bad will get it? Adventure to find like rare wood or something.
Like, he figures out
Change his ways.
Nice.
I'm not good at something like this.
You're ready? Yeah.
It could be cliche. Yeah, it was. And then he.
Okay. Are we ready to share our ideas with the class? You ready, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Since I think you're the first one's done.
Well, okay.
Just share with us your kind of basic ideas, and then
Okay.
we're going to talk about it after everyone shares.
Well, ours says you will soon receive an unusual gift freely given, except exclamation point. So our idea was to have like an FBI agent who receives an unmarked box of like money, so he's really dubious about like taking it, and he has to try to figure out like where it came from, and I don't know. We were trying to think of a climax. Something bad happens to where he figures out who it's from or like why they're giving it to him, and it's like a dangerous, scenario. But that's as far as we got. So
That's good. I like that one. We'll talk about that one.
Okay, well, one of our fortunes was you would make a change for the better, and you're admired for your adventurous ways. So we kind of made a story where Sam goes to an adventurous place in the rainforest and was kind of get some wood so he can make some money when he gets back to the United States. And he meets this indigenous woman and falls in love, but he's kind of a jerk. So he has to change his ways in order to live there and be with her and stuff. So we're not exactly sure about
Yeah.
It's an idea.
I like the romance.
Ours is the one we chose to be. You will soon be honored by someone you respect. Do you want to say that?
Well, yeah, we were thinking like do it like a teacher honoring the student, and so we were saying like the student's been working really, really hard and it just shows. So the teacher puts him or her up for an award. Like I don't know if your school's like our school does awards day. And then, but the problem is, like, she goes home and tells her parents, but they, like, don't care. They're very, like, not interested in her academics or any of that stuff. And so she's really upset, and she goes back to the teacher and, like, you know, is like, you know, thanks for the award. You know, she's just not excited about it at all. And so the teacher, like, probes, finds out about it, and sends a note home to her parents telling them what a great honor it is and how hard she's been working. And basically at the end, like, she's at the award accepting it, and she looks out into the crowd and she sees her parents, and it's really exciting and happy. And that's the climax, and then they resolve all their problems and happily together after they
Okay, did anyone's plot ideas strike y'all as being really strong in one of these areas? Like, did anyone have a really strong climax or a really great exposition for where they wanted their story to start, or did anyone strike you as having a really great resolution to their story? Can y'all think?
I liked their exposition because it was really like, she was just like FBI agent. I was like, cool. So, like, I thought that was really cool. Like, I mean, like, unmarked bag of money, like, that's all cool too. So.
What did y'all think about the exposition they had where he was in the rainforest and then they kind of developed his character a little by saying he was kind of a jerk? Did y'all think?
I could see that being like a funny story. And,
Yeah.
And I like romance too. So.
What did we think about the climaxes? Did anyone have a particular favorite or?
I thought ours was good.
I like ours. Ours is
Did anyone feel like they needed to develop the climax in their story better? Or even having ideas about
Didn't know
how
what ours was going to be yet, so.
Yeah, we have no idea yet.
Yeah, that's okay. I think sometimes
about
that
there?
happens when you start writing.
I think our climax might be very important because it's about him changing. So by the end, like we have to kind of see where the changes come in at. So the climax is very important to kind of see where the story comes together.
Yeah. And then what about, was anyone struck with a falling action or a resolution that was done well, or did anyone think that they could have developed theirs better? I know that you all went all out with your resolution, and it was definitely there. Did y'all feel like y'all knew where y'all were going when y'all started, or?
Not exactly.
I think the resolution, I think we did best with like exposition and resolution, and maybe the middle is kind of where we would fall out because like we don't really know like what problem came up, that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we know that he's like lame in the beginning and he's gonna be great at the end, so
Yeah.
that I think our resolution is good because obviously he's gonna like go the right direction and be with this great woman, but I don't know, I think we could work on the climax or like what went wrong that they couldn't be together other than just like cutting down trees if you fell for it. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. I think it's important to note that when we're talking about plot, these are all important parts of the story, but the way that our stories are going to come together are the way that we develop the problems, are the way that we develop our characters. And so it's all going to come together with the language that we use within the story, and it's not just about these key elements within the story that strike us as readers. And so tonight for homework, I want you all to pick your favorite fortune and or if you really liked the FBI agent, you can write about that. If you really like the rainforest, you can write about that. But just pick your favorite story that we've talked about today or plot idea, and I want you all to develop your own short narrative for class tomorrow.